What is going on, everybody? So I'm making this video today because we have a couple of customers that have had tanks for a long time, and when I mean a long time, you know, it could be 8 years plus. And in that time, this hobby is rapidly changing. So there's always improvements. There's new equipment coming out and better ways of doing things and streamlining things. And a lot of these tanks need massive upgrades. They were doing good at first, but now things are slowly starting to catch up, and they're slowly starting to need you know, things tweaked and improved. So I have a perfect example of that today, a tank that I went to, and I'm gonna kind of run through the aquarium and show you what needs to change. It's doing great, but it's kind of plateaued and now started a steady decline, and it's because we have to make some changes to it. But first, I don't like making these types of videos, but I went to a, I won't name the place, unnamed fish store, and I just wanted you guys to see this condition of this blue hippo tang that I saw. This makes me really, really upset, and anyways, just take a look. Now, I saw this little blue hippo tang, and I had to share it with you guys. You can see his ribs, you can see his stomach is shrunken in, you can see his skeleton. He is not being fed properly, and you know, I really don't like seeing this because these fish need to eat several times a day, like 5 times a day, small feedings, and this guy's obviously not getting adequate nutrition. I don't know what they're feeding him here at this place, at this store, but even this mono is looking like, look how big its eyes are compared to the rest of its body. It's really, really skinny. And I just had to share this with you guys because blue hippo tangs are one of the fish that I'm kind of iffy about being sold in the hobby, because these guys get to about a foot long, like 9 inches to a foot long. If you ever go to a proper aquarium, you see how big these fish really can get. And I really don't feel like these fish should be commonly found in the hobby, because only certain people should be able to have these fish, because not everybody can have a tank that's big enough for them long term. Unfortunately, somebody's gonna buy this fish and it'll probably last a week or two in their tank and it'll die just from the stress alone. I don't think anybody that knows, that's good in the hobby or experienced in the hobby, would buy this fish just because of the signs that it's showing. They wouldn't risk it. It wouldn't be worth it. Now, I asked if they could feed little buddy while I'm here, so that way he gets a little extra meal, because he probably hasn't eaten today, Lord knows. But you know, hopefully it goes to a good home. Hopefully somebody finds it and it ends up being okay. Just tough to see this type of stuff in the hobby. All right, so here's the aquarium. This has been up for a long, long time. We did not originally service this. This was another company that services. We have picked it up and we've been servicing it now for a couple of years, but some of the problems that were originally here, we've maintained, we've done our best. But like, if you look here, there's some bubble algae growing there. Now you can throw some hermit crabs in there and maintain it, which we did. We threw about 40 to 50 hermit crabs in here. This whole rockwork was just littered with bubble algae everywhere. But the emerald crabs have done a great job. There's also a little bit of this algae in here. We added some urchins, some cleanup crew. Okay, so you can manage that, no big deal. But pulsing zinnia is not a coral that I would have recommended for this tank, because you can see it's starting to spread everywhere, even close to this Euphyllia hammer coral. And you can go in here with some pliers and pull it out from the root, but you wait a couple of weeks and it just comes back just as strong. And that's why I probably wouldn't have recommended to put this in here, especially in an area like this. Maybe an isolated spot somewhere would have been better. Also have this giant bubble coral that was been in here forever, but the problem with this is it sends out sweeper tentacles and it just stings everything around. And we've lost some hammer corals and some other corals because of it. It was higher. We actually had to move it down because I was scared it was gonna start messing with those Euphyllia corals. But it took out this there's a beautiful Hollywood stunner right here. It wiped out the whole thing. And this acro's just starting to grow there, which that's pretty cool. But again, that's probably not a coral I would have chose to put in here. What we did put in here was this cabbage coral, red mushrooms, things like that. But I think this tank is kind of, I mean, there's a ton of coral in here. Everything's growing, almost too much. If you look at this lepto right here, it's growing so much to the point where it's now being stung by this hammer coral in those white bleached areas right there. And then it grows up here, and then it's being shaded by the monopora, and then it's starting to die right there. So it's having to grow this way and that way. And soon it's going to meet, you know, waving hand anthelia or this Duncan coral, and that's just a lot of coral battles going on in this tank, so you definitely got to frag up some stuff. This monopore is getting out of hand. It's gigantic. This lepto is beautiful, but you can see right here, this waving hand anthelia is starting to bother the trumpet coral and starting to actually sting in certain areas. And this trumpet coral actually got stung a bunch because it was close to, it was being smothered by these mushrooms, and it was just being completely taken over and then cornered in with the waving hand anthelia, which is another coral I definitely want to put in this tank. A lot of service companies like putting Xenia and waving hand anthelia in your tank for the simple fact that it makes their job easier because it cleans the tank, kind of keeps the nitrates and phosphate levels at bay, and it spreads quickly, so it does a really good job at that, kind of like algae would do. Keeps the tank clean also, and a lot of customers do like it, but I just think it's kind of dull. But that's getting out of hand, and you have to go. This is a pretty deep tank. Like this is pretty deep, and it's not easy to get in there without getting pretty wet. Do a big water change to get in there, and you have to pull this out with pliers to make room so it's not stinging things, which I've done in the past, but you continually have to do that. We have sponge right here that's killing this. What else do we have? Oh, power head is broken. Gonna need a new power head. Tip came off. Definitely need some upgrades here underneath the filtration. All right, so ATO, new ATO is in here, but that's gonna be used to dose. Sentia doser's hooked up. Old doser does not work anymore. It is broken. That is the original doser. It is not dosing proper amount. Tested it, and it's not lining up with the right mills. So that doser's definitely done. It's not reliable anymore. And some room we're gonna clear out here. Kind of not a lot of electrical work that needs to be done, but this doser needs to be out of here. And then instead of dosing two-part, we were dosing Kalkwasser. Got the Sentia doser, which is a lot more reliable, Wi-Fi enabled. Be easier to dose that into this aquarium. Sump is about as big as we can get it. Can't go much bigger than this in the area that we have. Big time protein skimmer that's doing good, so that's fine. I think that's it. We have one working power head right there, but it's on its last leg. It's not blowing incredibly hard. Tank definitely needs more flow. A lot of this stuff, you got some movement here, but a lot of this stuff is stagnant over in this corner where this power head was. So probably recommend about 2 more power heads, maybe one here and then maybe one against the back wall. Get more flow in the tank. It's a big clunky scape, so you need more flow. Power head is probably a priority. Probably want to get that in this week. And lighting, got 3 Kessels plus a strip light. Should be plenty of lighting, but those Kessels are old. Those are going to be going pretty soon. It's just a matter of time. I have the same ones and they are about to be done. Now, because we moved that bubble coral, we're starting to get some heads of the hammer growing back. Never throw out hammer skeletons just because they may bail or they're not doing good, because if you keep the skeleton in your tank long enough, you might end up, there's a good chance you get heads that will grow back eventually. I've seen it time and time again working at a coral, working at an aquarium shop. We thought hammers were dead, and then we left them in a tank, and months later you got a little baby heads growing. But those are growing back too, which is nice. All right, there you have it. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Do you have a tank that's been up for a while? Do you need to make equipment upgrades to your tank? There's a lot of really good equipment out there nowadays, and it's actually, they've made really good improvements to it. So yeah, upgrades are good. All right, see you in the next one.